incredible. If you had the honor of seeing our guest speaker a few years back here at the center, then you're in for a big treat. Those who have never seen him before, you're also in for a big treat. It's just a great, great honor to always have Dr. Jim with us. Dr. Jim Lockard is a minister, teacher, speaker, author, blogger, coach, consultant, and New Thought leader. So, he's sitting around all day, just really not doing anything. He is currently traveling the world with his wife, Dorianne, and they are frequent presenters at conferences in spiritual, business, and academic worlds around the globe. So it's just amazing, and again, an honor to have him here with us. For 20 years, Dr. Jim served as spiritual leader for centers for spiritual living in Florida, Maryland, and California. He is an author, as I said earlier, but his most notable works, I want to just make sure we make honor and share some honor towards. Sacred Thinking is his book, Awakening to Your Inner Power. Also, he was a chapter author for Spiritual Guidance Across Religions, and that's a source book for spiritual directors and other professionals. And also a chapter author for the recently published Innovative Development. It's Emerging Worldviews and System Change. His newest book, Creating the Beloved Community, is a handbook for spiritual leadership, and that's due out this fall. His blog, New Thought Evolutionary, is very popular in New Thought circles and probably something you may or may not have heard of before. He served on the board of directors for the International Centers for Spiritual Living from 2003 to 2012, and I believe still serves as an advisory board member for the Association of Global New Thought since 2005. Working as a consultant with a variety of organizations in the public and private sectors, Jim is a certified presenter of Spiral Dynamics, the Spiral Dynamics model, Theory U, the Q process, the Edgewalker, which I believe he'll go over with us this afternoon at the workshop, and SQ21, Spiritual Intelligence. Those are all coaching programs. If you are in that world, you probably have already heard of them. Dr. Jim has a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland and a master's degree from the University of Miami. He also received his honorary doctorate of religious science degree in 2008. As if all that isn't impressive enough, he was a cop in Miami before all of this happened. I mean, he's a spiritual badass. I love him. You cannot help but love this guy. Seriously, though, he is one of those people that when you hear him speak, it all just makes sense. And because he's rooted in pure, pure love. Please help me welcome Dr. Jim Lockard.
I didn't know I was that busy. I guess. Well, thank you. I trust you have a deep appreciation for David Aurelio. Because I get to travel to a lot of centers, and there's only one of him. In terms of, I have never felt so welcomed or cared for as a guest speaker, and I just can't say enough about him. So it's a thrill to be here once again. Dr. David Alt is also a dear, dear friend of mine. The one thing I would correct on the bio is the Creating the Beloved Community is actually out already, and Dr. David Alt is one of the people that did an endorsement of it. So we have those for you today if you'd like to look at that. So what I'm supposed to talk about today is something called What It Does. And that is based on one of the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook. And in those first 4 chapters, Dr. Ernest Holmes sort of coalesced the teaching into that space. It's about 50 pages of material. And the term it, the chapters are the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And you might wonder, what the hell is it? And it is the creative intelligence of the universe. Okay? We use a lot of different names for that. We use the term God. We use the term mind. We use the term life. We use the term spirit. We use the term love. But they're all for the same thing. And it's really important that those of us in a metaphysical teaching like the Science of Mind understand what we mean by it. Because that begins, actually forms the foundation of how we think about ourselves and the world. So couple of basic things. And another good title for this chapter would be Love and Law. In fact, there is another section of the textbook further back where he expands on that, and it's called Love and Law. And there's basically two elements to this one thing that's happening, and one is love and one is law. Love is the expression of the universe. It's the creative energy. It's what gets things in motion. And law is kind of the rules that it follows to come into being. Okay, so an example of this at the very personal level would be you use your thought to think and create ideas and beliefs in your subconscious system. And once you have those beliefs in place, they automatically govern how you perceive and interact with yourself and the world around you. So I might think or be told, anyone here was a child? Anyone have that experience? Okay. Okay, so when you were a child, when you showed up, you're basically this precious cosmic self, okay, that's coming into incarnation from God knows where. God does know where, but no one's told us. And it's this precious, untouched cosmic self of pure enthusiasm and possibility. And then you're born. Now, for those of you that remember the birth process, it was very painful, stressful. I know we don't remember that. Mom, you remember it if you've been a mom. Dads think they have some idea of what it is, but they don't. But basically, we come into this incarnation through a series of stressors, pain. And then we show up and there's bright lights and there's people talking to us and we don't understand language because all we have is basically emotions. And we have nascent language, but we don't understand anything. So we have to figure out what's going on. Now, you might say, this is an interesting way to create a universe. And I might say, that's beside the point. Because this is the universe we're in. Doesn't matter if it could have been better or different. It isn't, see? So I think we have to keep kind of, to use a football expression, keep your eye on the ball here in terms of dealing with the reality in which you find yourself. Because a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking how God could have done a better job. Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, by the way, says people who think that they could have made the universe better are unfit for illumination. So have fun with that. So we come in and we go through this series of having to struggle to kind of find our way. But what it turns out is that very struggle is what calls forth from within us the inner potentials that we need to realize in order to take advantage of and live the best life we can live. That which challenges us is actually calling forth from within us innate tendencies and potentialities that would not otherwise be called forth. Now, the term that we use in general for this process is evolution. Evolution is basically spirit's MO, modus operandi. Evolution is sort of a concept that includes a whole lot of laws of the universe that dictate how we express and the parameters within which we exist. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was very young, I was misinformed. About a great many things. And the biggest thing I was misinformed about, both overtly and covertly, was the nature of who I am and my own worth. It was conveyed to me by a lot of official people, like the nuns in my elementary school, with whom I had a very interesting relationship. That basically I was unworthy, and I had to prove myself worthy to a God who was judging me all the time and didn't have very good expectations of my success at making myself worthy in his eyes. I was misinformed about other things too. I was told that my self-worth was equal to my net worth. You see, I was valuable to society only as an economic indicator. That I had to be productive to be worthy. And that if I enjoyed myself too much, every moment of enjoyment took away from me being productive. Now, how was this conveyed? It's not like I had an economics lesson when I was 3 or 4, but I would be sitting on the sofa, zoned out. You know, when kids go, when you're imagining things and you're just kind of not present, you know, and somebody, a relative, would come through and notice me in this state, and they'd say, hey, snap out of it. Get off the sofa and do something productive. I'm 3. What am I going to do? So I'd go take all the pots and pans out of the cabinets, you know. And I'd be told that was not what they had in mind. So I split the atom. No, I didn't know. I didn't know what else to do. And I was also misinformed by being told that God, and also God's organization, where, you know, Jesus is the CEO and Mary's the COO, and there are saints who are managing directors of various areas of your life, that they were looking down on me with disdain. They were very disappointed in me. And then they made a big mistake. They told me that even thinking about doing something wrong was as big a sin as doing something wrong. So I said, fine. I'll just do whatever I think about. And I became what was called in the school a disturbing element. The nuns would tell my mother, your son has become a disturbing element. And, you know. So they started sending me to Mother Superior's office every time I disturbed the class. And I have to say, looking back, I didn't know at the time, but looking back, I usually disturbed the class because I was bored out of my skull. And the person next to me looked bored too. I thought, well, we might as well talk because there's nothing going on here of any interest. So I get sent to Mother Superior's office, and it turned out that, you know, it's one of these, like, the universe does have a sense of humor, you know, I mean, look at this. Is this the work of a serious artist? So on the table in Mother Superior's waiting room, the outer office, where those of us that were miscreants were waiting for our, you know, talking to, was a copy of On Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau, which I read. And I thought, this doesn't help her case at all. If anything, it helps my case. And I pointed that out to her once. And she told my homeroom teacher not to send me to her anymore. This is true. That I was to be sent to the janitor. So, about 10 o'clock most mornings, I would show up in the furnace room at St. Ursula's Elementary School in Parkville, Maryland, and I would see Mr. Shoney, who taught me the janitorial arts. I learned to unclog a toilet. I learned to clean up vomit. I learned to adjust the thermostats, which probably wasn't a good thing to show me. And that went on for 2 years. I spent most of every day with the janitor because I was told that was probably the best I could expect to achieve in life. And I have to say, at the time, that was fine with me because we had a good time. So then one day, and I'm telling you this story to get to the spiritual part. Okay, no. So then one day, it's the first day of 5th grade. And I'm in homeroom, very first day. Mother Superior walks into the classroom and calls the homeroom teacher over, and they're both talking, and they're pointing at me. And Mother Superior turns and goes, and I said, I just got here. I haven't done anything. This is a true story. I get up and go with them. They walk me down the hall in silence, down 2 flights of stairs, out of the building toward Harford Road, which was a 4-lane major road. I think they're going to throw me in traffic. I was ready to die. I was saying my last prayers. Or I thought, failing that, they were taking me across the street to the rectory to let the priests deal with me, which was not a pleasant thought. And instead, they stopped at the sidewalk. I mean, they could have done this anywhere, but they took me all the way out to the sidewalk. And they said, James, we feel we have dealt with you inappropriately. I said, no kidding. To myself, I didn't, yes, sister? You always say yes, sister. Anybody was in the military? You say yes, sir, but you're thinking something else, Yeah. Yes, sister, So it had turned out that we had taken an IQ test right before we left 4th grade. So they say to me, you have the highest IQ in the school, which was a surprise to me. And we're going to design a new program for you. And they decided that the whole problem with me was I didn't participate enough in class. I said, well, it's hard to when you send me to the janitor. So they gave me a little 5x7 index card that I had to take to every class and have the teacher sign and indicate how much I'd participated. That was the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. And I would sit there literally in class with my hand up the whole class. And sometimes they wouldn't call on me and they'd say, did not participate. And such is life. You see? But what I learned out of that was maybe everything all these adults have been telling me isn't true. Now, I didn't want to write off everything. I wanted to try to discern what I could depend upon and trust and what I couldn't. And I began to pay real close attention to who I could trust and who I couldn't. And the way Joseph Campbell puts that, he says, don't listen to what is said, listen to what is talking. So what was called forth in me out of that challenge that I call elementary school was the ability to discern and know how to entrust others. So that was a net plus, I think, in life. Dr. Holmes says the Spirit can give us only what we can take. It imparts of itself only as we partake of its nature. It can tell us only what we can understand. So the simple way to put that is, everything has already been given, but I can only receive what I can accept. It's like if they took you into Costco. They have Costco here, right? Okay. They took you into Costco, and you could have anything you wanted. But all you thought you deserved was a 55-gallon drum of mayonnaise. So that's what you took. I hear you can get caskets there now. but you have to buy a 4-pack. But you'd have all that abundance there, but you can only take away what you can accept. The usual metaphor is you go to the ocean with a bucket or a thimble, and you can take out of the ocean that limitless supply, only what the container you bring can accept. And that's true of the good in our lives. We can only realize what we can say yes to, what we can identify as ours, what I can say, yes, I get that. I can see myself doing that or being that or having that. Not at the superficial level, but where we have really built it in as an accepted truth. We have done the spiritual work, which next week's talk is about how to use it, which is the specifics of how to do mind treatment and other practices that allow you to implant the acceptance of good in your subconscious mind in a deeper and more powerful way. Another interesting thing. The universe is impersonal, Dr. Holmes says in this chapter. It gives alike to all. It is no respecter of persons. It values each alike. Its nature is to impart, ours to receive. I was misinformed that some people just naturally had more affinity to things than others. Usually in my family, it was based on birth. What kind of family you were in, what kind of bloodlines you had, what your ethnic background was. And my father, as it turns out after I did some research, was really good at making up a really BS story about our lineage. Because he needed it to fit his idea of some degree of grandiosity that his own life experience did not show. I also was adopted. So I just did my DNA test a couple years ago. My wife and I did for fun, and we didn't, it turns out we were completely wrong about where we came from. Both of us. Well, I didn't know. But my wife, all 4 relatives, Ashkenazi Jews coming from Eastern Europe, and she's Spanish, Sicilian, and Greek. With lots of strays in there, too. I said, your family went on vacation a lot. All those other markers, The universe is impersonal. The law itself works the same. So here's my universal metaphor for that. Electricity. Think of electricity as being equivalent to the spiritual energy, spiritual power of life that flows into all of us. So the electricity comes into this building if you pay the bill. Okay? So in other words, you have to be in alignment with the good. It comes into the building, it flows through the wires, and it goes to different devices. It goes to the lights, it goes to the microphone, it goes to all that stuff. And the same electricity becomes the light, becomes the sound, becomes the air conditioning, the heater. And the electricity not only doesn't care what it becomes, the electricity doesn't say, whoa, 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 I'm in the light wire, I want to go back to the sound wire. I've always wanted to be sound. It doesn't do that. It goes, because it's its nature to flow, it becomes whatever the end device tells it to become. It doesn't even know what it becomes. See, that's spirit as you. It doesn't even know what you are. It doesn't know if you're gay, straight, black, white, tall, short, whatever. It just simply provides itself to you, and you are the end device that turned that energy into your experience of life, which is governed by the beliefs you create about yourself and about the world. Everything else is just commentary, as they say. We can go down all kinds of esoteric rabbit holes, and we can look into the neuroscience, and we can look into the ancient mythological story behind all this, and all that is of value, but all of that doesn't add to the basic truth of how the teaching works. And the teaching is simply a description of that reality. That's all it is. So we live in an impersonal universe. Well, gee, what about all that time I felt picked on by God? Or if I didn't believe in God, I felt picked on by this or that, or if somebody had an advantage over me because of this or that. But then there's always that person who makes it or doesn't make it despite having or not having the advantage. You never notice that? The outlier? The person that rises out of poverty to become a great philanthropist, the person that starts out in great poverty and falls into great riches and falls into disrepute. How does that happen if there's some kind of a, universal protective system that's selecting some and not others before birth? It doesn't. It happens because each of us is creating our own experience of reality. I didn't say we create our reality. We create our experience of reality. We co-create reality with everyone else. This community, this spiritual community, is an idea, and it changes every time a person that's a part of it has a different thought. It changes every time a new person comes in or someone leaves. See, it doesn't change that much, probably. But it is the collective idea of those here. So if you're here, you're not creating the whole center, but you're creating your individual experience of it. So I don't get to tell the world what to do. I do get to determine how I'm in that world and what I try to influence. Holmes says, let us restate our principle. We are surrounded by an infinite possibility. That's another name for that creative intelligence of the universe. Infinite possibility. It is goodness, life, law, and reason. In expressing itself through us, it becomes more fully conscious of its own being. I don't know if that's true or not. We humans, we need to understand things, or think we do. So we need to have a motive for the creative intelligence of the universe to create all this. Well, it must be because, it was bored, without form, just be in spirit. That was boring. It was an infinite, and there can't be anything other than an infinite, so it was lonely. Or it wanted to experience more of itself. Who knows? Who cares? Here we are. We find ourselves here. We understand the limits of our potential, which is basically unlimited. And, we all have access to the full range of human potential. We don't have access to the full range of cat potential, which is okay. We have cats for that. So people say, you can be anything. You can't be a cat. I'm beginning to think I'm not going to star in the NBA. So no, it's not anything, but within what's possible for me, there is an infinite. You see? And I just want to make the best version of me I can make. And I want to feel fulfilled. Fulfilled means I'm feeling like I'm on purpose, that I'm in alignment with something greater. Who did I come here to be? I came here to be the best version of me I can be, which if I do that, other things will tend to align that work. Dorian and I, my wife and I, have designed a lifestyle that we thought would be really help us to experience more of ourselves, to be more of givers in the world, more contributors in the world, and also have a great time. We spend half the time in Europe and half the time in the U.S. We have a ministerial coaching practice that we share. She coaches CEOs in how to develop positive value systems within their organizations. I work with spiritual leaders primarily to help them to become what I call being part of the larger beloved community by having your local community function at its highest level. So we're not spending our time trying to make this place work. This place works so we have time to go out and make the world work. Or contribute to it anyway. You see? And I like to drink wine. Good wine. And I like French food, and it's better in France than it is in here. It is here. Sorry, it just is. So there's nothing wrong with having a full life as long as part of it is contribution. You know, we have to be able to refuel so that we're able to give fully. So part of what was holding us back, we realized, was a whole bunch of possessions. Houses, cars, stuff. And we've gotten rid of most of it. We live out of one suitcase and one rollerboard each. And I know every possession I have, including how many toothbrushes. Because I went to Costco and got a 75-pack. No, we can't go to Costco. There's only two of us, and we have this little space. We can't, we're in Airbnbs and stuff. Anyway, so what spirit does, what it does, is create. Creates out of itself and becomes that which it creates. What you and I are, I figured out, is we are part of the spiritual mechanism that brings potential into actuality. We actualize potential by means of our consciousness, by means of our being, into reality, into actuality, into experience. And to the degree we do that in our best version of ourselves, everything around us is improved. To the degree that we fall into the trap of believing the stuff we were told earlier on that wasn't true, we can actually make things worse. See, the same electricity can power the lights or run the electric chair. It doesn't, the power doesn't care. Spirit doesn't care what you do with it. It simply provides and provides and provides. So that's what Dr. Holmes was trying to share with us. I think that's what Jesus was trying to share with us. I think that's what all the great spiritual adepts have been trying to share with us. There's only one thing happening, and we're all part of it. And we get to determine our own experience as being that. So I would invite you this week to pay attention to what are your feelings? What are your thoughts? If every night when you go to bed there were an attitudinal balance scale next to your bed, and you stood on there, and all of your thoughts and feelings were measured, would they lean to the positive or to the negative? And that is entirely up to you. Thank you, and namaste.
Hi, I'm David Alt, and I simply want to say thanks. Thanks for taking the time to watch our broadcast here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We have a vision, and that vision is to reawaken all to their spiritual magnificence. And one of the ways that we are able to do that is through this very medium of broadcasting. So if you got anything out of this, if you felt in any way inspired, or if something spoke to you directly, then I extend an invitation to you to become a part of our family by donating. And there are many ways in order for you to be able to do that. One is to simply go to our website at slca.com, and there you will find all different kinds of prompts that will help you support what it is that we are doing here in Atlanta. One way is to become a pledger. That means that you decide on a monthly basis that you are going to help us with this vision. Another way is to donate through our management system called Fellowship One, another through PayPal, and another even easier way is on your cell phone. You can do what's called text to tithe, and that number is 404-796-7030. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I invite you to come back weekly to see what it is that we're up to. Blessings.